Do you guys remember what I said in my Wolverine review? X-Men First Class? Everyone loves it, but me? No. Yeah. To those who know me personally, you guys know that this video has been a long time coming.
You ready for this? Let's find out.
Hey, what's up, folks? It's the Methodical AAA. If you don't like me, frankly, I don't give a doo-doo. Anyway, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't understand why everyone likes X-Men First Class. It is often revered as the best X-Men film. Like, people rate it higher than X2, which I don't understand. You wanna know why? Because the flaws in the film are so obvious. No, I'm not saying that, there's no such thing as a perfect film. Every film has flaws. But this film is supposed to take place in a bigger continuity, and yet it completely contradicts that continuity. It doesn't make sense. And bottom line, I'm not gonna get anywhere by rambling. I'm gonna give you 5 reasons why I really don't like X-Men First Class. Now wait, now hear me out. I'm not trying to say that if you like this film, you are dumb or anything like that. If you like this film simply because of the fact that you enjoy it, fine. I have no reason to say you shouldn't like this film, because honestly, there is a lot to like. But for me, there's a lot of stuff holding it back as well. As I said, if you like this film, that's fine, okay? I mean, look at me. I saw the movie Need for Speed, and I liked it because it was stupid as hell, but it was also enjoyable to me, okay? So, yeah, there's that. But as I said, I'm gonna give you the reasons as to why I don't like X-Men First Class. So, let's get started. Yeah, I'm gonna get the easy one out of the way. Which one is that? Number 1, the handling of the minority characters. Yeah, I could talk about this for days, but yeah, alright. So, in the film, the team has 2 minority characters, Angel and Darwin. Angel doesn't like being looked at as a mutant, per se, I guess. And Darwin is a good guy. Yeah, I'm completely beating around the bush. Why don't I like the treatment of these characters? Well, what happens to Angel isn't nearly as bad as Darwin. Let me explain. Darwin's power is to adapt to survive. And do you know what happens to him? He dies. The guy who is most likely to survive dies. What the fuck? And what really pisses me off about this is, now when it happened, I was confused as hell, justifiably so. And I was wondering, okay, how is this going to affect the team? Magneto suggests that they avenge him, so I'm thinking, okay, I don't like the fact that the black guy died, but I guess they're gonna avenge him? Nope! Literally the scene after, they completely forget about the existence of Darwin and Angel, as if they never were on the team. So, which begs the question, why the hell did they even kill Darwin? Why the hell did they even include Darwin in the film? Just to kill the black guy? Seriously, can you give me another reason as to why Darwin was in this film? He didn't serve any purpose, except to piss me off, which, that obviously worked. And now, a friend of mine said, oh, come on, like, it was the 60s, what would you expect? That is a very shitty excuse. Let me explain why. Yes, this is the 60s, the civil rights era. What's a better time to show that the X-Men are equal? Every single one of them is fighting for the same cause. What a better time to show that, yes, we're all equal. It doesn't give, who cares if you're white, black, blue? Bottom line, we're all the same and we all are fighting for the same goal. No, that was completely tossed out of the window by the fact that Darwin dies, which doesn't make any sense because he's supposed to adapt to survive. Which is why I say the only reason why he was in the film was so they could kill the black guy. It's inexcusable. 2 more things that I can think of off the top of my head. 2 more things that really grind my gears. 1. There is a saying in the film, mutant and proud. James Brown made a song, I'm black and I'm proud. And they killed the black guy. Seriously, X-Men First Class? Seriously? And number 2, I know for a fact, a bona fide fact, if you put Wolverine in the exact same situation that killed, quote unquote, killed Darwin, he would get out unscathed, you know, despite the fact that Wolverine can still drown while Darwin can't. And another friend of mine asked me, would it be okay if they brought Darwin back in a future film? No, because they shouldn't have put him in that situation in the first place, because it doesn't make sense. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's continue. Another problem with X-Men First Class that I have. Number 2, the handling of the female characters in general. Now, alright, X-Men First Class has pretty much proven to me that if you are not a white male, pretty much fuck you, because you're a piece of shit. Let's start with the character that I know least about. Well, there are a lot of female characters in X-Men First Class that I don't know shit about. But let me start with Emma Frost. A friend of mine who is a big fan of Emma Frost, I admittedly don't know anything about her, but he pretty much picked off every single problem that he had in this film. Because according to him, Emma Frost, she's, based on what he said, she's usually the leader of whatever situation she's in. She's usually the one on top. No pun intended. She's a female. But you understand what I mean. And this film, as I said, I don't know much about Emma Frost, but this film, it definitely was not a good first impression for anyone who doesn't know anything about Emma Frost, because Emma Frost in this film was a complete waste of time, and she was completely expendable. I mean, she's a telepath. You would think that, you know, Emma Frost being a telepath, she would be a little smarter than the average person, but no, that she as I said, I'm not even the one who's well acquainted with Emma Frost. My friend, he's a lot angrier than I am, and he says he likes this film actually. So yeah, there's a problem right there. But moving on, Moira McTaggart. Okay, out of everyone in the movie, Moira McTaggart, she is the one that is she's better than the rest of the females in X-Men First Class, at least in my opinion. Because at least she does take charge of the situation some of the time. Of course, you know, Charles Xavier being Charles Xavier, you know, is the one that he's the head honcho pretty much. But she's the one that's working in the CIA, and she's a go-getter. She takes the initiative when she needs to, which is good. But even then, towards the end, she has to be made a fool of. What do I mean by that? Charles Xavier erases her mind. I mean, she said she wasn't going to tell anyone. I'm pretty sure you could look into her mind and see if she was telling the truth. But of course, the movie doesn't tell us whether or not she was going to tell the truth. I mean, before, we see Charles Xavier look into her mind and see all the events that transpired that she was a witness to. But in this, I guess he erases her mind just because. And when she goes back to the CIA, she gets made a fool of. Admittedly, it's not as bad as it could have been, but seriously, wow. And a little pet peeve that I really don't like. Yes, I know everyone would like to imagine that X-Men The Last Stand never existed. I understand, but you cannot just ignore X-Men The Last Stand. And that's one thing that this movie does quite a lot. But bottom line, in X-Men The Last Stand, that was the first time we actually see Moira McTaggart. And she had an accent that was obviously not American.
The man you see here was born with no higher level brain functions.
And yet, apparently 40 years earlier, she had an American accent.
I think we should just talk when you're sober. Do you have any time tomorrow?
Seriously? Now, Angel. I kind of glossed over what happened to her in the minority characters rant, but so she's a stripper and she doesn't like dudes looking at her natural wings. Okay, and she goes over to the villain side because he basically says that the mutants can live like kings and queens. Okay, and then she fights against the team. Okay, and then she joins Magneto. Okay, and that's the end of the movie. My main problem with Angel is that she has no fucking character. Seriously, how the hell am I supposed to sympathize with you when I don't fucking know you? I mean, a bunch of that's another thing that you can say about the whole team of teenagers in X-Men First Class. They have no character. But seriously, Angel, I don't get where she's coming from. And she joins the villain and she fights against the X-Men. Magneto takes over the team. Oh, and the villains have even less character. So I guess they just joined the highest bidder, which is Magneto at that point in time. And they just break Emma Frost out of jail, and that's the end of it. I'm really trying to get invested in why I really don't like Angel, but the fact is she has no character. I can't say that, oh, this is why I don't like her, because her character, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm really trying to find some fire, but I can't because she has no character, and that, honestly, is a bad thing. But, moving on, Mystique. Now, hear me out. I personally liked the Mystique from the first two X-Men films. When I realized that she was going to be in X-Men First Class, I was like, okay. And that's when it stopped. Because for some reason, this film makes her the adoptive sister of Charles Xavier. Okay, and, okay, I can understand how she would not be comfortable with her natural mutant form. But this is pretty much why she joins Magneto. Because Magneto is apparently willing to give her the D while she's in her natural blue form. Judging by the character that Mystique was in the first two X-Men films, I assumed she had a lot more layers to her than that. This film pretty much makes her come across as a spoiled brat in that case. Seriously, I mean, if that's the case, then she was willing to go against her adoptive brother in the first X-Men film. She was willing to poison the mind. Seeing as how Charles Xavier is a telepath, she was willing to poison the greatest asset to her adoptive brother for some reason. And in X-Men 2, obviously she was working with the heroes, but I assume, seeing as how Charles Xavier is her adoptive brother, she would show a little more enthusiasm in trying to get him away from the clutches of William Stryker. I mean, am I right?
No.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess you could say, oh, her life was hard, when she was a kid. Okay. But obviously, the film doesn't focus on her when she's a kid. It focuses on her when she's a young adult, and when she's a young adult, she doesn't do anything. She whines and complains and all of this shit, which doesn't really translate well to 40 years in the future. Of course, a lot of things can happen 40 years into the future. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not entirely sure that whatever would happen would make you go against your adoptive brother. I mean, I'm gonna get to him in a second, but seriously, her adoptive brother, she's willing to put down her adoptive brother for Magneto. That's a very, very single-minded goal, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, who knows? Maybe X-Men Days of Future Past can shed some light on what happened in the future. Who knows? But as I said, the whole situation just kind of makes her into a spoiled brat, and I really can't get behind that. But in her slight defense, pretty much everyone she talks to about her natural blue form is a fucking asshole. In her slight defense. So I can understand why she would go with Magneto in that case, because Magneto's willing to accept her. But then again, I tend to toss that out the window because her adoptive brother's on the goddamn ground. Who knows? He could be dead for all she knows, in a situation that doesn't even make any sense. I'm gonna get to that, I'm getting ahead of myself, but as I said, the people that she talks to about her natural blue form are fucking assholes. But I still don't understand how all of these events can eventually translate to her going against her brother, not even batting a fucking eyelash in that respect. But, hey, once again, that's just my opinion. Moving on. Number 3. Continuity problems up the ass! I could go all day on this, but I'm just gonna try to breeze through this because, as I said, I could go all day, but I don't want to. And I'm going off the top of my head because if I'm going to pick apart every single thing, you understand. Moving on. In the first X-Men film, Charles Xavier said that when he was 17, he met a man named Eric Lensher. Well, I guess you could give Charles Xavier a little bit of slack, seeing as how he's a telepath. I can understand how he would be in Oxford at age 17. Bottom line, that's a little wrinkle. But when he said he met Eric Lensher, once again, you would think he would mention Mystique, seeing as how she's his adoptive sister. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, there is this blue girl. Yeah, you might encounter her. She's just my adoptive sister, Mystique. She fucking hates me for some reason. I don't know. But if you come into contact with her, run away, because she's pretty fucking boss now. I mean, she wasn't when 40 years ago. She was just a little pansy, but now she can kick some fucking ass. I'm just saying, stay very far away. Okay. And Charles Xavier says that Magneto helped build Cerebro, when 40 years earlier it was revealed that Beast built Cerebro. But I guess you could say Magneto helped build Cerebro in the X-Mansion, which I don't know how that would work, seeing as how they're kind of enemies at the end of X-Men First Class. But based on the trailers for Days of Future Past, I guess they come together, as allies one more time. I guess building Cerebro could happen between then. So I'm willing to toss that aside for a little bit. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Charles and Eric both say that mutants will be exposed if they stop the Cuban Missile Crisis. But for some reason, in the year 2000, people are just now realizing that mutants exist. When as I just said, around 40 years ago, technically the same thing happened in a much more obvious fashion. You understand that doesn't make any sense. And the one that really pisses me off, Charles Xavier gets shot and crippled. As I said, I know everyone would like to forget about the existence of X-Men The Last Stand, but you understand that this, as I said, if you like this film, that's fine. But you understand that the events that happen in this film are just muddying the waters. It's just making everything even less coherent in this continuity. Charles Xavier gets shot and crippled when, for some reason, in the flashback to X-Men The Last Stand, which took place 20 years earlier, I'd say that was in the 80s, 1986, I guess. Charles Xavier, as Patrick Stewart, is walking alongside Eric Lehnsherr, who, was his enemy at the end of First Class. You understand why I don't like this movie? Because it doesn't make sense. It does not make things better. It fucks everything up. Once again, I'm not trying to say that you should not like this film. Just acknowledge the fact that this film is making a lot of things worse. But hey, I guess Charles Xavier, he kind of deserved to get shot. Why do I say that? Number 4, Charles Xavier is a fucking asshole. Now, I'm not here to say that, I don't like Charles Xavier in X-Men First Class because he's using his telepathy to get chicks. Who wouldn't do that? I'd do that. But what I'm trying to say is, he's an asshole because for all of his wisdom in this film, all of his telepathy, he can go into people's minds, he still has the gall to say to Mystique, essentially, yeah, I'm okay with mutation, but not when your mutation causes you to look different from me. Seriously, what the hell? I'm not saying that Charles Xavier has to be exactly the benevolent person that he is in the first X-Men film and the second one. I'm just saying, you have telepathy, and I know for a fact this motherfucker goes into people's minds without their permission, so how about you go into Mystique's mind and see where she's coming from? Understand her, okay? Instead of just saying, yeah, but I can be around you as long as, we're indoors, and that's only when you can, show your natural blue form. I mean, I understand that it would cause problems, but you could at least show her that you acknowledge that you understand where she's coming from. Obviously you don't, because let me just say this right now. Charles Xavier in this film is pretty much the privileged white kid. Pretty much he's the one that says, oh yeah, life is good. And ironically, he has the opportunity to understand that no, it isn't all good, but for some reason he treats everyone else that looks different from him as if they are different from him. What the hell? As I said, I'm not trying to say that he should be exactly the benevolent person that he is in the original trilogy. This is a problem that you could have so easily avoided, Charles. You could have gone into her mind and understood her problem, but you didn't. You decided to be a fucking dick for no reason. And yet when he gets shot and he sees Mystique leave, that's when he decides to say that, yeah, he's known all along? What the fuck? That means you were just being a dick just to be a dick. Wow, Charles. Jeez, at least Magneto understands Mystique. Honestly, if I was a mutant and I had a choice between this Charles Xavier and that Magneto, honestly, I'd choose Magneto. Because of his backstory. He was taken hostage by goddamn Nazis. He knows what it's like to feel oppressed. No wonder the colorful people like him so much. Moving on. Now, the one thing that really angers me. As I said, I'm not trying to say that you should not like this film. If you like this film based on the fact that you enjoy it, perfectly fine. But if you are one of those people that are quick to harp on X-Men The Last Stand because they fucked everything up, and yet you like this film because you believe that it fixed everything, no, you do not make sense. Because you need to acknowledge that this film fucked everything up worse. Which leads me to number 5, the obliviousness and or hypocrisy of the fans. I'm gonna keep saying this disclaimer. If you like this film based on the fact that you enjoy it, fine. But as I said earlier, if you believe that this film fixed everything, and you for some reason are the same person that likes to, just cut ass on X-Men The Last Stand, you understand that that argument does not make sense, because this film fucks things up even worse. As I said, X-Men First Class only succeeds in muddying the waters. Everything is put into question thanks to this film. Now, it's not like, oh, what are you trying to say, that X-Men Origins Wolverine didn't fuck things up? Of course it did. Of course it did. But the difference between this film and X-Men Origins Wolverine, everyone was unanimous on their hatred for X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't get why people I can get it, but I don't understand why people would call this film the best X-Men film ever. People actually call this film Marvel's answer to The Dark Knight. Fuck no. As I said, there is a lot of things to like, but this film is very polarizing to me. I can't get behind it because it's not even like it took me a long time to figure this stuff out. Every single thing that I have said in this video was completely obvious to me from my first viewing. I was thinking all of this as events were happening in the film. Now listen, if this was the first X-Men film to come out, the first one, fine. I still would hate the fact that Darwin died, but hey, if this is the first X-Men film, and this is the film that's going to shape the continuity of the X-Men films, so fine. You can make whatever storyline you want, but that's the thing. It's not the first film. This film is supposed to add to an already existing continuity, and it just puts everything into question. That is the reason why I don't like X-Men First Class. Now, with those things being said, are there things that I like? Of course. There are, I keep saying this, there are a lot of things to like in X-Men First Class. A lot of things. And one of those things I am very happy to say is Michael Fassbender as Eric Lenscher, aka Magneto. This is the only, one of the few prequel characters that I've seen. Not just in X-Men First Class, I'm talking about in any prequel in general. This is one of the few prequel characters that I can see as a younger counterpart to their older self. I can completely see this guy as a younger Eric Lenscher. He's more impulsive, he's a lot angrier, and I can see as the years go on, he becomes, more seasoned, a little more laid back, to the point where he becomes the Ian McKellen Magneto, and everything just makes sense in regards to this guy's character. Every scene that Magneto is in, I'm talking about the scene where he's the only main character in that scene. Those scenes are so well done. Hands down, Magneto is the best part about X-Men First Class. Really makes me sad because, as I said, the freaking bullet points that I've explained earlier, And another thing that I liked, I know, for all the shit that I've given Charles Xavier in this film, I must admit his relationship with Magneto, it was pretty good. Once again, a little pet peeve that I have. When Magneto refers to him and Charles as brothers, when, Charles is laying on the ground shot, once again in a situation that doesn't even make any sense, I never really got the impression that they were brothers. I got the impression that they were very, very, very good friends, but not brothers. That's just a little pet peeve. I mean, if that was the only thing wrong with X-Men First Class, I probably wouldn't even bring it up. But hey, as I said, The previous bullet points that I've explained, I'm just saying, I have to speak my mind. And that is how I feel about X-Men First Class. Once again, I'm going to keep repeating this disclaimer just in case people didn't get it. If you like this film simply based on the fact that you find it enjoyable, perfectly fine. I am not here to judge you if you find this film enjoyable. But if you like this film specifically because you think it makes everything better, whereas the other films fucked up, you understand that argument doesn't make any sense. I am just putting my 2 cents in there. So, out of 100%, my final verdict would be a 62.5. Had a lot of potential, but it was too bogged down by nonsense. Yeah, I'm glad I got that off my chest because I've been really wanting to say this for quite some time. Am I looking forward to Days of Future Past? I'm interested in seeing what they do. I would like for them to rectify the problems in X-Men First Class, but I don't think that's gonna happen because I saw Charles Xavier, I'm talking about the young Charles Xavier, I saw him walking. But once again, I don't know anything about what's happening in the film, and plus, there seems to be a lot of stuff happening just from its storyline alone, so I don't think it's gonna be able to rectify the problems of the past. Unless those problems, rectifying the problems are in that story specifically. So that's how I feel. So until next time, I'm the Methodical AAA. If you don't like me, frankly, I don't give a doo-doo. Peace. God, it felt so good to get that off my chest.